Do you know Michael Hagedorn? And do you know what Michael Hagedorn has to do with Vito Corleone, the Godfather? Of course not. Now, the question it all started with was Michael asking me, how often is often? How often do I have to meet people to keep the relationship alive or going or active? How often do you have to meet people and encounter people to grow a network? And Michael is a member of Außergewöhnlich Berlin, the network I very often talk about. And he asked me that question years ago. And since Michael owns a company that builds apps, we constructed an app. And the app was called the Corleone App. Because Vito Corleone, the Godfather, said something very interesting. Vito Corleone is the main character of Mario Puzo's book, The Godfather. And there was this one scene in the movie that you might have seen where he meets Buonasera. It's the first scene. And Buonasera asked him for a favor. And the Godfather answers, Buonasera, I cannot remember when the last time was that you invited me for a coffee. Saying that, hey, listen, you didn't care for me. I mean, you didn't keep the relationship alive. Why should I help you now? And this is true for every person. If you try to get something from people, they will immediately, even if not intentionally, deliberate, think about what does that person do for me? Most people are reciprocal people. Most people will immediately calculate what kind of investment you gave them. And the investment doesn't have to be big. It can be one coffee. But if people feel that you really mean it, that you want a relationship, they're open to give something. People will see that you really mean it if you say, let's have a relationship. But you have to keep a certain frequency up. Now, what's that frequency? Coming back to the initial question. The frequency is not the same for every person. You have different layers of contacts or relationships. There are those very close contacts. There are those average close contacts. There are the weak ties. There are the outer ties. So what we did, we developed an app that was called the Corleone App, and the app divided the contacts that you had. It took the contacts from your phone, and you could swipe like with Tinder. Swipe to the left was a very close contact. Swipe to the right was an outer contact. Swipe up was the weak tie. Swipe down was the very close. We can forget about these people. No contact. And the app calculated for you how often you have to meet these people and reminded you that, hey, you should meet that person for a coffee next week. It was a great app. Was far too early for that. So it didn't work. We didn't sell the app, so we closed it down again. But it was a nice idea. And the system behind it is still valid. If you want to keep relationships up, do it in a system. Sit down, take 2 or 3 hours. Take all your contacts that are important for you and categorize them. Categorize them in very strong contacts. I want to keep this relationship very active, and then scale it down up to the outer frame. Because the problem is that most idiots are very active in contacting you. People tend to meet the idiots more often than the good relationships, because the good people don't bother to call you and so on, because they think, hey, well, I don't want to disturb. But the people want to sell something to you or want something from you, they're going to call. So you're going to meet them more often. Don't do that. Have a system. Now, how often is often? The inner contacts, the real relationships, the ones that you want to keep active, make it once a week. Like every religion does. Most religions meet once a week. If you have colleagues and want to keep a relationship alive, but doesn't have to be that intimate, once a month. Like most associations, monthly meetings are enough to have an active relationship, but not too productive. Then you have those quarterly meetings. Quarterly meetings are great to keep the whole thing alive, but not too active. This is true for decision-making groups like advisory boards and these things. They meet on a quarterly basis normally. And then you have these outer circles, half year or only once a year. Those typical birthday cards or Christmas cards. This makes your contacts feel relationships. This makes people feel close to you. And you can have different ways of contacting them. You don't have to drink coffee with everybody or beer or whatever. A phone call is also good. A short chat, a short Zoom call. But if people see that you want to keep the relationship alive and that you show up in a certain frequency, people will feel that. And most people are reciprocal. And you will see, if you keep these routines, if you have a system of encountering, the network will grow by itself. And you can be a godfather or godmother without killing people and without being in the mafia, just by drinking coffee. That's impact networking.